Hey, what's up, everybody? Anaris here with another episode of Scared in Korea, a series where I take a more analytical approach to my own personal gameplay as I attempt to improve and make my way through the Korean ladder. So, I've decided to start actually introducing the players beforehand with a look at their profile. Basically, if I can't always read their names, I figured this will be a nice way to introduce them. So, this is the Terran player that I will be playing this match. He is a platinum rank number 63 in his division. Now we are pretty close to the beginning of the new season here. So let's actually take a look at what he did last season. It looks like he scored 8th place with about almost 1,500 points, about 170 wins in his platinum division last season rather. So let's go on into the game. Of course, I myself am gold right now. Gold rank number 2. I went down from number 1. I'm very sad about that. But making my way back up. Alright, guys, let's go on to the game. It's on Shattered Temple. Let's go have some fun. Alright, we are in the game now, here on Shattered Temple. Myself, Natterpuss, spawning in the 12 o'clock position as the red Protoss. The blue Terran, I don't know what his name is. I'm sure somebody will be kind enough to interpret it in the comment section down below. However, I would suggest, before you go looking at it right now, wait until the end of the game so that way you're not spoiled by anything of that sort. Now, going into this game, I had the mentality that Shattered Temple, alright, if he's spawning down the 9 o'clock position, probably going to go for something like a 4-gate, try to end it quickly. That's what I do with a lot of my games, because I'm just trying to get up and get more practice with my builds. So 4-gate, alright, that's fine. Over here, I'm going to go with something along the lines of anti-air / anti-drop. Probably kind of stay in my base for a little while until I'm sure that I'm going to be safe to take that expansion. Then I'll take that. And if he's cross positions, I'll probably do some kind of variant of X gateway and then kind of fast expand. So I find it's important to go into a game before you even know the spawning positions, just to have an idea of what you're going to do as kind of a guide, so that way you can adjust your very early build accordingly. Like we're seeing here right now, I decided to go ahead and drop my gateway here on the later side of 13 supply. If my opponent was right here, I would have dropped it around 12, but that's the nice thing about the scouting there first. Now I know that either way, my build is going to be a little bit more on the economic side of things. So I decided to go ahead and continue dumping my Chrono Boost on my Nexus. The Terran player over here, which I will scout in just a moment, you can see he's opening up 1 Rax gas. Pretty standard opener so far. The only real indicator that I'm going to see popping up the ramp is the depot at the ramp. A lot of times what you'll see Terran players do, if they're going to do something like a tech play or Banshee or something, anything like that, they're going to throw down like barracks, and then maybe a bunker or a bunker and a depot, something like that, as generally you wouldn't want to put those buildings exposed close to the ramp like that, because it does leave it vulnerable to stalkers that come over here, pop up the ramp with the zealot, kind of get vision, and then bam, you're drop down some supply. So you generally won't see that, but unless it is specifically used as a type of wall-in, which we are going to see it like that. And I barely get the probe out just in time. I kind of make it take that wide angle at the last second, because I knew that Marine was hot in pursuit. Up here, Cybernetics core's going down, second gas, everything's looking pretty hunky-dory in that regard. Kind of holding off on the Zealot there, as I just want to kind of get a Stalker first. We're pretty close, so I wonder if we're going to have... My thought was like, okay, Reaper, is that a possibility? We can just see that I did spot that second gas going down right there. So that was kind of the indicator to me, like, okay, he's going to be doing some kind of gas-heavy build. Whether that's going to involve a Banshee or what, I don't know, but chances are we're going to see him dump some of that early gas into a Reaper. Sure enough, there we go. So the Reaper is about 50% complete, and my Stalker is around 30%. Going to keep that around the base here as well. I do have a second gateway, so I decide, having seen the double gas and all the indicators over in the Terran base, I'm going to be going that kind of defensive play where I want to make sure that I have detection. That's where the robotics facility comes in. Also want to be able to switch over to Immortals should I need some kind of unit that's good against busting up those armored units like Marauders, tanks, etc. And I'm going to eventually drop a third gateway here, so I do kind of go with the 3-gate robo. I decided to get that second gateway earlier, just in case he tries to do something with a small push. I do like to have that second gateway out nice and soon. So there we go, the Reaper comes up. He actually doesn't get a lot of information. We can just spot, he sees, okay, Robo, 2-gate Robo, okay, that's fine. I mean, that's to be expected, so he's nothing shocking was discovered by him. He did lose the Reaper, so whether it was worth the 50 minerals, 50 gas, it's kind of hard to say. Although, having seen the Reaper, or having seen the Robo Bay, he probably thought maybe Banshee's not such a good idea. He's got the starport going down here. You see he's got the tech lab building on the factory, so he's in a good position to pretty much do it either way. He's got combat shield, stim pack, so things are looking good in that regard. Sticking with the Marines, though, so you see it's obvious he's going to be using that gas for something else, possibly siege tanks. He does have a reactor going down on the starport, so we're going to be seeing some medevacs here. Also, it's a good thing he's going to get that because it will allow him to transition into easy Vikings to counter what could be a Colossi play by myself. So, obviously, I do have the Observer down here now. I spot, okay, there's the reactor, so okay, that tech lab is still on that factory. We might be seeing some siege tank play here. There's a reactor going on the factory. Whole bunch of Marines have in the bunker right there. Of course, I don't know that, but the observer will come down and spot that again in just a minute. So with all this gas going, I spot, okay, so probably something along the lines of a Marine siege tank medevac push, something along those lines. I do have a second observer that has just popped out a second or two ago, and I do get kind of supply blocked right there, just one short for the Immortal. Oh man, pesky Immortals, but that's going to be rectified in just a second. You see I've got a pretty decent amount of Stalkers here. I do want to go into Blink here in the near future, but after seeing the Marines and the Siege Tank and all that stuff, I decided maybe Blink's not the best thing. Maybe I should go ahead and get an Immortal or two first to counter that, and then I'll work on getting that tech. But in the meantime, I do want to get that Twilight Council going ASAP, as you obviously want it for the upgrades as well. So I do have some nice defense here just in case he tries to flip it over and do a Banshee, but as time goes on, I mean, we're at the 8-minute mark. If we were going to have it, I would have expected it around 7:30, so you see how I'm just kind of continuing on here, focusing on my Immortal, etc. He certainly does take a sweet time here, though, as he is continuing to get up more and more Marines. They now have the stim pack, or the combat shields. There's that stim pack coming. It'll be done in just a moment or two. We'll see if he actually moves out. I haven't actually watched to see exactly when he moves out in relation to that stim pack. Although if he was going to be going for some kind of timing, he probably would have already head out by now. But I don't think that's going to be the case. As time goes by, though, you know, I'm just continuing to get those Immortals. You see, I've got a second one on the way. One is already here at the top of the ramp. Plenty of Stalkers. I decided to get those because I figured if I'm going to engage him, I don't want a lot of Zealots because I want to be able to focus solely on using the high ground to my advantage, and I don't want to be attacking up here while a bunch of Zealots are running down, getting shot by the Marines that will probably be right here. So I figured if I can just hold them at the ramp, take out the siege tanks, and, you know, just keep the Marines, the medevacs at bay, then I'll be in a pretty good position. One thing I probably should have gotten was a force field just for the ramp. 100 gas wouldn't have been that big of a deal. So now we see the Terran player has moved out. I see that stim. The Marines aren't actually coming. He double stims there. That is a really, really bad thing for him to do. I kind of heard that as I was running back. I'm like, okay. Well, I'll just wait it out here, see if I can separate out the Immortals and maybe pick off the siege tanks, which you see the tanks are running here at the bottom of the ramp right now. I do make my move, take out one tank, two tanks, and the Marines don't even do anything. Oh, takes out one Immortal at the last second, but I mean, at this point, the attack's potency has effectively been negated. He's going to be forced to retreat back down to his base and kind of regroup from there. So having done that, I thought, okay, now would be a good time to go ahead and expand here. So you're going to see me do that in just a minute once I'm sure those Marines are gone and for good. So I'm scouting out right now just to make sure not going to be any surprises waiting down there. Of course, Marines versus Stalkers, depending on the number, the Marines can do a lot of damage, so you don't want to be running headfirst into that, especially without any Zealots here, since I've been primarily focusing on the Stalker Immortal play so far. So you're going to see me kind of transition here as the game goes on. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and drop my expansion now that I'm feeling a little bit more secure about where I am in the game here. Marines, of course, hanging out in the middle of the map. I don't believe he has any weapons upgrade. No, he does not have that. I, of course, myself don't have that forge yet in this game. Like I said before, I was kind of dedicating most of my gas to the Stalkers and the Immortals, delaying that upgrades. I probably could have dropped. I mean, obviously, if I had known that I was going to be able to snipe off those tanks with such ease, I would have made a lot less Stalkers, got some upgrades, got Colossi, and probably could have finished it. But I was worried about the Banshees, I was worried about the drops, and I figured it'd be good to just go ahead and get a bunch of early low-tier units now and worry about it later. So he is going to stem up, run in here, take out the shields of several Stalkers here, but not only... I think he killed one, maybe two. So I'm going to go ahead and push, try to kill as many of these units as possible. You see he does have a nice position up here with the siege tanks, and yeah, kind of pulling back. I'm not really sure what to expect here. But the thing is, and this was actually, I think, my first mistake, was that I come in here in just a few minutes, and I try to see how much damage I can do, and I don't do a very good job of controlling. And unfortunately for me, I pulled my units out just as that command center was coming into my vision. If I had just waited a half a second longer, I would have seen that, and I would have been in a fantastic spot to deny this expansion. But unfortunately, did not work out the way that I wanted it to. So I decided to go ahead and scout around, see if I can find any other expansions that may have been snuck into the game. You know, that attack did take a while. He had more than enough time to save up 400 minerals, and sure enough, he does have his natural going down there. So he's got one Viking, probably waiting to build more, and once he sees that I've got Colossi, that's one of the reasons I stick with Immortals for a while now, or for a while here, is because, again, I kind of figured he's going to have a Viking on the ground or on the air somewhere, and I generally don't want to tip my hand into the Colossi tech. Like if I'm going Colossi later in the game, I don't want to do it until I know that I can have a bunch of them and completely catch him off guard. So you see here, the siege tanks hit me, and I'm like, oh man, I'm not really sure if I want to hit this or not. But I'm feeling pretty confident after the first attack, so you're seeing me run in here and actually blink, and I'm hoping that the siege tanks at the top were going to be able to actually hit me and splash a lot into the Marines. And the Marines on the outside do indeed die very quickly. I'm able to finish this off, but the problem is all these SCVs now here, plus with the Marines and the Medivacs are actually healing them up a lot. None of my units are very effective against those, so you're going to see me actually hang them. I should have withdrawn several seconds ago, but I stay in, and that's unfortunately a very large mistake that I made. Trying to attack those light units, I do focus down that Viking that landed there. I try to take out the Ghost, and of course there I am trying to run the Immortal around to keep those SCVs busy. But with those Marines, the Medivacs, the Siege Tanks, and the SCVs combined, you know, it's just not a good spot. I do try to blink in and pick off maybe another unit. I go for the Siege Tank, trying to take that out, because again, that's a target that I know I will be able to kill with these heavy anti-armored units. Unfortunately, though, I do not do the damage that I really want to, having killed a lot of SCVs, though, I feel like I'm not in totally crappy position, although that attack certainly could have been handled way better. I feel like if I'd gone in and kind of had a couple sentries, pushed away some of those Marines, done some damage to the command center, and kind of pulled back out, maybe a few Zealots to keep the Marines busy up there as well, it would have worked out a lot better. But I used what I had to try to push in there, and we can actually just see the Workers Lost tab. 22 workers, so that does actually end up helping me a lot. But was it worth it, though? Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see as the game goes on. Income right now, 40 to 34, so the Terran player definitely still sitting on a lower SCV count than myself. Mule's pushing him up in the lead. As far as APM goes, you can see right now, 92 to 67, whatever. I mean, you'll see me kind of float around 90, 92, 95 as the game progresses onward. Now, as far as units go, 1 Immortal, 7 Stalker, 4 Zealots, so it's a pretty decent combination. The problem is, still, I don't have a lot that could deal with those Marines. I'm bringing in additional gateways here, and there's another Immortal. I've got some upgrades on the way now. Finally, Weapons 1, help out a good bit as my main is starting to get mined out here. Now, I do have another expansion coming over in this spot. I should have probably expanded here first. It's way safer. I don't know what it is, but I've been playing StarCraft for years and years and years, ever since 1998 when StarCraft 1 first came out. Now, back then, little history lesson, I think Bone Canyon was my favorite map back then. It was kind of I feel like it was the predecessor to Lost Temple, but not really. Like, it was for me. That's just a personal thing. But anyways, back to the game here. I should have taken that expansion, but I have it in my mind that this is still an island, even though I know it's not. So my thought process is to expand somewhere down here first. That's just the reason I didn't do that. It's something I just need to kind of work on in my own style of thinking. So I do have the charge upgrade, help out a lot there with the siege tanks getting in, making a lot of that splash damage, hit the Marines, and my expansion's continuing to unfold. Now look at that, we've already got a 17 supply difference here. As Terran is moving out, he's got a lot of siege tanks. Fortunately for me, I do have the Observer floating there in the spot where I know he's going to be likely moving his units, and now he's effectively cut me off from my third base up here. I'm looking to take out this right here, and yes, so I do want to get Colossi at some point. Like I said, I do get it later on. I do have High Templar. I'm not researching Psystorm. Pretty much just waiting in the gas. Maybe get some Archons first. Of course, they're extremely effective against those biological units. Pretty good at taking those splash damage as well. Now, the reason I'm not trying to save this expansion is because I kind of know that there is something here cutting me off, and I'm not confident enough that I'm going to be able to save it, at least in the amount of time that it would take me to, I could come down here and try to take out the rocks, but that would leave my natural expansion exposed. And so I'm trying to build up as many units as possible to just brute force my way through this. And you see, I've got several Archons now. I do have the one weapons upgrade that's complete. There's a Ghost on the way. I didn't spot it on the way here, or when the army was on the way, though, so I'm not too worried about that. But you see, now moving out here, Zealots charging in, trying to get those Marines, the Archons coming and taking out the siege tanks. I am able to bust this up. The expansion, meanwhile, is still going down. Here comes some reinforcements for the Terran player. Now is when I wish I had a Psystorm, but unfortunately, like I said, I did not have the resources at the time that I wanted to commit to getting that kind of upgrade. I would have rather spent it on getting another couple Zealots or High Templar and making another Archon, etc. So I do come over here, try to save this expansion, clamoring like, no, come on, just get those Marines. No, don't attack the medevac first. Okay, finally, take it out. And you see, I save it with 10 hit points. What a relief. I am just, oh, man. Having seen that blockade, I was just so very worried, but now I decide to send my units once again for another attack here. Not really aware. I don't think I'm at this point I know the Ghost. Okay, so yeah, I saw the Ghost Academy there, but I don't really know. There's one already on the field. It does have 65 energy, so not quite enough for an EMP just yet. Of course, that'd be coming in a moment or two. There's a scan, pops out that Observer to about 50%. Yep, he used another scan. He wants to finish that thing off, man. He is totally committed to that. But I do manage to clear off the rocks here. Viking 6 hit points. That'll just, that'll do its own thing for a while there. And we do have Weapons 2 on the way, as I once again decide to head out and check for expansions. There is another one here, Planetary Fortress, which would do a decent bit of damage to my forces here. The Zealots would be able to take out a lot of SCVs, but still, assaulting one like that when those SCVs can get a good surround repair it can be pretty costly. So Viking comes over here and is going to actually, I think this is where he just finishes off the Nexus. I don't have any pylons to warping units here. Nothing is even remotely close, so you're going to see it finished off. Unfortunately, I do lose that third. I try to get those probes away. I think there's even one or two up here as well that I need to send away. Yep, that one's going to be sent back as time goes on. Good catch on that. Now, here we go again. I decided to go ahead and try to counterattack. You see, I'm under supply cap right now for my current pylon usage, and this was, again, I'm not really too confident about this attack, but I know I need to do something to get myself here back in the game, delay another expansion, just do any damage that I can. The siege tanks here on the high ground are doing tons of damage, though. You're going to see with these Immortals, actually, the siege splash is going to be doing a ton of damage to those SCVs, so that's working out pretty well in my favor. But again, I don't make a lot of inroads to his base. I do see the siege tanks plop down there, so I'm going to try to take that out. But I lose so much in the process and eventually have to retreat there. Those Marines, just 2 Marines, man, but I mean, I'll tell you, you see, they do a good job against these units. The Stalker gets taken out, and now I am now 83 to 87. At this point in the game, I am fairly demoralized, but I bring in reinforcements anyways. I really feel like I have to make some kind of impact here at the natural expansion, considering the fact that I'm effectively down a base right now. So I try to limit the amount of siege tanks that he has. Going into this, I'm like, okay, if I can take out these siege tanks and do enough damage, take out this Ghost maybe, you see I'm going to snipe that off as well, then I'll feel like I have a chance here. So basically taking out those siege tanks delays his ability to once again siege my base, and that's what I'm most worried about. Having that supply cut off again right here in this position, keeping me from my high yield, which I'll be getting in just a little while, or at least trying to, and also this expansion right here, I'm finally taking this as I definitely need some income. You actually look at it now, you see I'm not in a good position. I do have 49 harvesters compared to 50, but my minerals just not really where I want them to be. So as far as workers killed now, 30 to 13. So my attacks have been fairly successful in terms of cutting off his income some, but still, oh man, he's got that advantage. I know that. I decided I'm not gonna lie. I actually did feel like leaving the game here at this point about 30 seconds ago because I was just so frustrated with my poor decision with attacking it, and I'm sure that some of you better players in the comments section will leave me comments to that effect, and that's perfectly okay. Like I've said before, I'm not a Grandmasters player. The whole point of playing here is for me to try to achieve that level and understand things, from a game player's perspective, not just from a caster's. Like I've said so many times before, two completely different things there, to play it and to just see it. So trying to make myself better all around here, and hopefully end up being able to eventually provide some high-level insight later on down the road once I have reached that level of professionalism? Question mark? I don't know. Whatever. We'll just have some goals and leave it at that. But now the expansion up here is looking pretty good. Working on getting the probes out. You can see 55 to 52. So I have actually taken the lead in that regard in terms of probing. But there we go. One EMP lands on my forces right there. Stupid mistake leaving my High Templar bunched up. But again, I leave them there kind of... I want to make them into Archons, and so it's not that huge of a loss. You see I've got exactly 4 there, just kind of thinking about making 2 of them later on down the road. I figure if I'm getting ready to be attacked, and if I can get some storms off, great. If not, okay, that's cool too. But I'd rather just have the energy building up in the meantime. So for the purposes of Marine play, I do see that he's still focusing on trying to get those light infantry as his support units. So I do decide to warp in a few High Templar up here at the top and let that energy build up, because I know he's not going to be able to actually spot that for an EMP. So you see he's got another ghost over here. I do spot it with my observer. He's going to be heading up, and I do bring out one High Templar. I'm like, okay, this time, nope, and boom, smacked him in the face as he just got way too close there. But I was actually kind of surprised he let it get that close. But it's funny, actually. Speaking of that, the lag in the Korean server, you saw his field of vision. I actually clicked feedback on the ghost the instant he popped into my vision, but it actually just takes that long to actually register the command. So a little bit frustrating there. But overall, it's actually not that bad in terms of overall gameplay. But expansion's still looking good. Got a couple cannons here. There was actually, I believe, yep, okay, do have a Colossus, or a robotics facility on the way. I was about to say, I thought I had a Colossus coming here at some point, but I do in the near future. Spoiler alert, I do get a Colossus, I guess, for those who are super picky about that type of thing. And the Terran player working on making a wall here. So I see this and I'm just like, oh man, I'm not liking the position here in the game. He's got a good drop coming in here to me right now, and he's got Hellions, he's got Marines, Siege Tank, a very solid position here in the middle. You can see he's spotting the expansions as well, as here comes another drop, getting ready to, looks like, head into my base up here. And yeah, we'll see how effective this is. This was not a good placement for my robotics bay. I just kind of threw it down when I was in my, whatever, let's just play this game for the heck of it, I don't really care phase. But I was able to get it, get up, pretty decent time here, so not too much in the way of aggression from the Terran player. I was kind of surprised. You see the Marines are just parked down here, just below the expansion, barely out of range, and he's going to come up here, and yes, indeed, here we go, working on taking out one cannon. He does get rather close. I do use the probes to try to push the Marines back, but you see one cannon does go down. I bring it back, hopefully I bring the probes back, rather, into the range of the other cannon, and you can see I am on the way right now with my forces, trying to catch these Marines. Will I be able to, though? You see that he will load up the Marines in just a second here. Sure enough, good save on that. basically getting away scot-free, just losing a few Marines there, but I do blink in the last second and take out the medevac, which does have all of the Marines, so it wasn't a complete loss for myself. I do take out all those. So, okay, whatever. Final probe count, 27 to 61. So now I am just really, really sad. You see, my minerals, not so hot. Terran, I know that he is sitting on at least 4 bases right now because I've got this observer down here. I spot that he is working on the high yield expansion and has been for a little while. So, again, morale is low. I'm sitting here, though. I'm going to keep trying, keep making those Archons. Basically, what I want to do is I do have the observer still out here, and you can just kind of spot. Okay, so a lot of the siege tanks, a lot of the Marines are focused over here. So it's likely that this part is going to be fairly open. So I'm going to try to use this to my advantage. When I do bust out, I'm going to want to try to bring some Colossi and try to attack this from the side angle, kind of really negating a lot of these defenses. You see the siege tanks are in a pretty good position to fire at units oncoming here. Not so much in the other spot, though. I am able to take the high yield expansion, so that does work well for me here. Here comes the drop, actually. This I don't think I handled very well. I did not warp in nearly enough units. I'm going to lose this Colossus, as, again, I'm trying to do any damage that I can. Again, just really poor planning, poor execution, rather, on my part. So you're going to see that pylon go down. Fortunately for me, he doesn't attack anything super critical. You know, he hits pylon, couple forces, you know, etc. So the Colossus was the big loser in that particular fight. I don't think, I'm not quite able to pick off that medevac this time. But I figured now, okay, I'm 187 supply, just about maxed out. I've got lots of High Templar here, about 11 or so. I'm going to have plenty of Psystorm. Also, the Colossi, I do plan to use those against the Hellions. I saw that he had those a little while ago, and I figured he got them in response to my Zealots. You could see, okay, I've got 3 weapons, 1 armor, so not sitting terrible, but I definitely could use a lot more upgrades here. As I'm continuing to check for expansions, he does spot out my high yield expansion, which I am actually going to defend that later on with some nice pylon placement. That's something I really should do more often there, but I do decide to move in with the Zealots. I kind of overextend just a tiny bit. I really should have left them kind of on the hold position there, but you see how he sends all of the Hellions coming over here, so I will be able to nail a few of them with the Colossi, taking out the Marines as well. So I effectively, through this attack, I am able to limit his ability to hold that western portion with the defense. Unfortunately, my little Protoss Death Ball is quite vulnerable to EMP, and I will get hit with it right there. It doesn't actually hit too much. Most of the forces actually were on this kind of wide turn right here, so not actually affected by most of it, but that's perfectly fine. There goes one medevac. You see my observer still spots the expansion up here. As I'm running around continuing to look for openings, I do decide to go ahead and maybe try to just run around, try to attack the high yield expansion, look for any weaknesses that I can find in this army right now. You see, his weapon upgrades actually do kind of leave something to be desired here. Like I said, he's a platinum player in Korea, but I guess he just decided to let his money snowball here. As you can see, now finally mine is as well. So I spot through my observer here that this expansion doesn't have a lot of SCVs. Eventually it will, so I decide to take this out first, and that's going to be following very quickly. Terran decides to go ahead and actually retaliate up at my natural. But look at it right here. What can he actually do? Not a lot. There's a few gateways, there's no minerals, there's gas, a decent bit, I mean 100 left, so not that much. He leaves his static defenses wholly unprotected. His natural expansion here, he's still got those siege tanks, and I decide, you know what, man, if he is going to go ahead and hit that, then I'm going to take out the middle. So I come in with these Zealots, which no match here, no match whatsoever. We do hear one EMP going off, but look at this. You see he was funneled in there for just a brief moment, and now all these light units are just begging for the Colossi to rip through them, as I do suffer some pretty heavy casualties, taking me down to around 116 supply, but I am still warping in units, though, hoping to defend this. He takes out the few gateways, that's about it, as I am now cleared out the middle. I'm at a good position, I think. I've got this extra expansion here while this was taking place, and I'm feeling a lot more confident about the state of the game for me. as we're now at almost the 40-minute mark here. I don't actually have a lot of games that go past the 20-minute mark, let alone the 40. But you see those pylons there. I place them in an attempt to limit the amount of damage those Hellions can actually do. It basically saves a lot of my probes there and allows me to come in and finish off those Hellions. One of them, unfortunately, does get away, but we're going to see that die very quickly. So in terms of workers lost now, 45 to 53, 278 to 199 in terms of units lost, and you could see both of us are approaching 30k resources gone down the drain so far here on the Shattered Temple. APM right now, 94 to 73. Income is pretty freaking low. Dropship taken out. I spotted that with my observer. I'm like, you know what? That's free candy. I'm going to go take it. So, robbed that Terran player of his Marine drop, which, I mean, again, he probably would have hit more pylons or something like that anyways. But overall, back in the game in a big way, and like I said, I'm feeling pretty good about this, even though there's about a 20 supply deficit right now. Still, it's something I can work with because I've got my high yield, I've got income from 3 different places essentially here, so you're going to see that go down. 1 Psystorm landing, several more, taking out a lot of those units, and now I still retain control of the middle ground. A few Hellions getting ready to run out. At this point, I'm cautiously optimistic. We'll just call it that. Very cautiously optimistic. I know that this is the death zone. I'm just not even going to bother with that. But I don't want to be baited in there. I see there's a few Hellions running around, getting ready to head up to another expansion, maybe trying to pick this off. So I do warp in a few Stalkers in anticipation of that attack. You see he just runs in here, once again trying to do any damage that he can. But I feel like this is a good trade. I storm the crap out of those SCVs, annihilate the Planetary Fortress, and yes, these Stalkers are going to be slowly taking down. But again, it's taking them so long, and how much damage am I doing in the meantime? Well, let me just tell you, a heck of a lot. Here comes a couple Ghosts, though, as they will be making their way over here. More Stalkers as well. It looks like, actually, he's gonna take out 1 Stalker, 2 Stalker. 2 shots, man. What a baller. Is now we're going to be having Ghosts coming in to the high-yield expansion with 1 nuke getting ready to hit the mineral line, and 2 nukes. Will this land? We'll have to wait and see. No, it looks like the probes are going to be safe and secure. Again, just kind of interesting positioning there on that, but wow, I cannot believe that Ghost actually lived. 1 nuke, 2 nukes. Okay, congratulations, you took out the shields. Meanwhile, down here, I have managed to again hold the expansion and really deny the Terran player even more income. Look at his money now, 55 minerals. He's spent down all of that trying to maintain that wall, build up, and, I mean, really, what has it gotten him? He's got a Ghost over here. A couple Ghosts going to be picking off my my warp gate. Whoop-de-frickin-do. Not even going for the probes. But, yeah, I've got an observer here on the way in just a second. I'm not actually sure where that is. I have 2 of them building. I guess I probably could have brought that one over from the middle, but, I mean, hey, at this point, I'm a little flustered. Because, like I said, 40-minute games are not something that I generally have a ton of experience with, at least not on any degree of seriousness, this level of play, etc. So now he has left the game. He has 55 minerals. He's got 1 or 2 SCVs kind of littered around here. 12 SCVs total, and that is going to be it. So, yeah, I just thought this game would be kind of interesting because, again, like I've said before, these games are not meant to show, oh my god, I'm an amazing player, check out all these cool things I do. But they're meant to be like kind of real world, oh, look at here's, I do make several mistakes, but I'm trying to learn from them, and I try to explain them so that way you can as well. So that's going to wrap up this episode of Scared in Korea. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know any other kind of matchups that you'd like to see. PvZ by far is my weakest, and actually I've had some embarrassing games for that, but also some pretty good ones as well. PvP, I've got a couple late game of those. I've got a couple late PvTs as well. Not quite as late as this one, but anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you learned something from it, and yeah, eat more waffles.